Well, welcome back to the Success Blueprint with me and Jason Greider. We are super excited to be back. Jason and I are going to take this one over and talk a little bit about what's just going on in the real estate now and what some of the trends are, or what's happening and what you can expect in our local market.
Yeah. I'm excited. I mean, right now is a pretty good time, right? I mean, we're seeing sales are definitely increasing. The market, a lot more people, a lot of listings are going out there. It's kind of twofold. If you're a seller, things are great because things are selling as long as you're realistic on price.
Right. And what does that mean?
What does that mean?
Realistic on price.
So I think a lot of sellers are still looking at, 2 or 3 years ago, right, pricing, or they're looking at, I mean, we still have a lot of homes that aren't selling, but the reason isn't because there's not a lot of people buying right now. The reason is because they're just a little bit too high.
Right.
Unfortunately, a lot of people get really wrapped into, oh, well, I had an appraisal done on this, and this is what they said. And that's great that the value's there, but the value doesn't always equal what the market's going to bear on your home, right? It may not equal what somebody's willing to pay for that home because you've got 3 other homes that are competition that are very, very similar, or even better sometimes for cheaper.
Right.
And so I think when people realize that, and then some people, of course, we've talked about the Zillow estimate or Zestimate or whatever you call it. And on different sites, they'll have different estimates. But in Idaho, because we're a non-disclosure state, they're not quite as accurate as they can be in other states. And so they're probably better now than they were 5-10 years ago, but they're still not very accurate. We see those change all the time. In fact, when you go to list a home, a lot of times that there's estimate or whatever will change automatically as soon as it goes live.
Right.
And so, and it might be a $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 swing. And we see that all the time.
Which is everything.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah,
$20,000 high can keep your market or your house sitting on the market for a long time and keep you wondering, why is my house not selling? What's wrong with my house?
Yeah. And a lot of people, they say, well, why don't I just price high and somebody can bring me an offer? The problem is if you're priced that high, nobody looks at your house.
Right.
And so they just move on to the next one that is priced right. And so that's the hard part. I mean, in an ideal world, great. Yeah, just come bring me what you want to pay on this house and let's try to negotiate it out. But you don't get that. I mean, our ask to listing ratio is still over 98%. It's almost 99. It's like 98.8%. So
can I tell you another spin on that? When you're talking about that we both know that I realized is, as a seller, you want to sell your house. And so we're going to try it out and go high. Mm-hmm. Well, the longer it sits there, the longer you're hoping that you're going to get that amount.
Yeah.
And you're expecting then to get that amount. So then when something comes in for the realistic price that you were originally told or you originally strategized about, well, then it makes it even more emotionally, because you don't want to, like, in your mind, you made that money. You don't want to lose that money.
Yeah, you think it's losing money that you never had, right?
Right.
It's kind of almost the same as, if you just sold a little bit late in the stock market or something, right? And, you know, it hit the peak and you're like, oh, I lost this amount of money. Well, the reality is you never had it.
For sure.
Because you hadn't realized that gain yet.
Right.
And that's the same with homes. I mean, homes is obviously nowhere near as volatile as that. And we didn't drop, 20, 30% in our market. We dropped a small few percentage points and we've kind of stayed flat the last few years. And so when people look at somebody who sold 3 or 4 years ago for $500,000, they think, well, it's been a few years, so we're probably at 530, 540, 550, when in reality, we dropped from that 500 peak or whatever down to, say it was worth 480, 475. And now we might be back up to that or maybe slightly over, but we're not to where they think it's going to be.
Right. We've plateaued for a little while.
We have. And that's expected because we almost doubled our home prices here in Idaho Falls between 2017 and 2020.
Right. And the glass half full, what I often have to tell people is we didn't continue to drop. We just plateaued. It went down a little bit and then it stopped.
Yeah.
Like the good news is it wasn't free falling.
Yeah. It's going to course correct somehow.
Right.
Because we went up so rapidly, it had to correct.
Right.
And so, but it is correcting, but it's correcting gradually and just plateauing versus the big drop, which is nice.
Right.
Because some areas did see a bigger drop, some of the bigger cities in that. And so for homeowners, it's definitely a good thing. Some of it here was because there's a couple builders in town that if they're not selling their quota, they drop their price. And so that hurts the people who just bought in that neighborhood, right? And so in some of those cases, it does hurt. But for the most part, we've been pretty steady the last 3 years.
Right.
So, but things are increasing pretty dramatically. I mean, we're seeing a lot more homes on the market now than we have the last few years, and a lot more sales too. Total number of sales were up almost 10% over last year, year to date. And that's really good. I mean, it's good to see. Obviously, in a real estate market, you always want to see growth, not attrition. So
when homes are coming on the market, people start thinking that there's then a lack of buyers. And so then what's your opinion on that? Do you feel like it's a lack of buyers or what?
Well, when total sales are up, it's not a lack of buyers.
Right.
Right. So I think a lot of people, like I said, a lot of people are still, and a lot of agents, that's the drawback too, is so many agents now, listings have become, there's a few more agents now. We did come down from our total number of sales. We're starting, like I mentioned, working our way back to that. But because it was down for a little bit and there's more agents, less homes, there's less listings. So listings are harder to come by. And so a lot of times, unfortunately, many agents will fall into that trap of, well, I'll just take this listing and list it for whatever they want to list it for.
Right.
Or they'll tell them, they think, okay, the market's going to be whatever, 400,000, but I'm going to tell them 450 because everyone else is telling them 4. And so I'll get the listing.
Right.
And so
with the strategy to reduce it.
Yeah, exactly. You'll list it here. I think I can get this for you. But then, 2 weeks in, 3 weeks in, hey, we need a price drop. So versus, hey, this is kind of what I really think it's going to sell for. And some sellers just won't move, right? They're like, no, I want to list for this higher price. But just being straight up with them and honest with them and saying, we're not seeing those numbers and we may have to come down to get it.
Right.
And there's some segments that aren't selling as strong right now too. So some segments are really strong right now that, 300 to 400 range is pretty strong right now. There's a lot of sales. We only have about a 2-month absorption rate or inventory level, months of inventory, and that's pretty low. Even though there's a ton of homes in that range, mostly townhomes, but that's a pretty strong market right now because there's a lot of buyers for that right now. But then you go to twin homes, it might be just a little bit more expensive, a little bit bigger than that, and they're really slow right now. Just that little bit size. And I think part of that is they're competing with a lot more single family homes.
Right.
And so we're seeing that more so right now than we have in a long time, whereas that's just one of those depressed markets, right? So I think knowing the market and knowing what each home is and being able to just be upfront and honest with those sellers, right? And to be able to tell them the market, and the more they're educated, then the better decision they can make to either proceed, move forward, and yes, we do need to sell, or hey, let's give it another year or 2 years or see what happens. But I think you just want an agent and a partner that's going to be honest.
Right.
And I think some it's not necessarily dishonesty. I think some it's just wishful thinking. And of course, we want to get the most out of the home too, right? I mean, not just the sellers. So yeah, but we're seeing that a lot. We get asked that in every market, right? Is it a good time to buy? Is it a good time to sell? And most of the time, depending on the angle and what they're needing to sell for and what their goals are, there's not really a terrible time.
Right.
I mean, every once in a while there might be, but most of the time it's not. It's just trying to figure out, okay, what's the best for this individual and what's best for that person. I think in our last podcast or one of our podcasts we did with Adam Coates, he had talked about that a little bit, about how all we're doing is trying to find out what they need and what they want and try to get them there.
Right.
And try to solve that problem for them. And so it's not like, hey, let's just go do this and just sell a bunch of houses. It's no, let's individually see what they need and see how we can help.
Well, and I love that you said that, because when people are like, is this the best time to sell? Well, why would you want to sell? Why are you selling? What's your thoughts? What's your goals? What's your next move? What is it that you're selling for?
Yeah.
And if it's like, well, we really want to upgrade, there's a lot of different ideas in the price ranges of maybe above that or something, but also we have to know that the interest rates, like where they're at, there's a good chance that they're going to be able to refinance. Like we can't bank on that, but there's going to be a good chance that, but we also know that the prices are going to go up.
Yeah.
I feel like when this war is over in Iran, it's going to disrupt a few things, and we're going to see
We'll definitely see a change.
A big change.
We'll see what that.
and who
that
knows
change
what way it
entails.
goes.
I know everyone with COVID, everyone thought the market was going to drop, and it just inflated like crazy. So you just never know how the market's going to react to it.
Right.
It will induce some change for sure, but nobody's 100% sure of what that change will look like.
Right.
And who knows? I mean, this could be by the time this is aired, maybe it's over. Maybe it's over. I mean, it's so volatile, right? And so that's part of the issue, though, is that nobody knows.
Right.
And I think that uncertainty is what kind of hold people back a little bit. But I think the biggest thing is most buyers right now realize that interest rates are where they're at.
Yes.
We might see them improve slightly, but we're probably not going to see dramatic changes. And they're starting to realize that those lows we had 5, 6, 7 years ago were probably lifetime lows. They're probably not going to see those again. And so when people realize that and they look at the 30-year or the 50-year average, we're still right in there.
Yeah.
I mean, that 50-year average is close to 7, and that 30-year average is closer to, 6, just under 6. And we're kind of right there, depending on if you're getting a government or conventional financing.
I agree.
We're just over 6. So we're kind of in that average, but I think people are starting to realize that. It took, what are we, 3-4 years out now? So it took 4 years to realize that.
And it's that stagnant. It's the stagnant of these rates, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not changing, and we wake up every day hoping for something different.
Yeah.
Not happening.
Yeah.
And so I think that then now they're like, okay, well, I might as well make a play instead of waiting forever. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm older, my kids are older, busting at the seams or whatever it may be. So,
yeah, it's true. And there are other options. I mean, you can, buy down your rate, you can do other things, but the hard part is if you do wait, and let's say you waited 2 years or whatever to buy that home because you're like, I'm waiting for interest rates. And let's say interest rates do drop for whatever reason. They drop to 5.5 or 5,
right.
which most people don't think it's going to quite get that low. But if they do, that's great. But then you're paying a much higher price at that point. And so you definitely would have saved money. And there are lenders out there that'll refinance within a year or 2 years a lot of times with very low cost or no cost. Right. And so it's not a true refinance for having to put another $5,000 to $8,000 in to refinance it. So there's options out there to look at, and there's definitely different options from each lender. And so that's why it's so important to get with somebody that you trust and that you know, and that can guide you through it.
And what I like about that is it's always important to be prepared. So if you're waiting for some market to change, at least get to the point of where you feel comfortable, know your finances, know what you can be approved for, know what kind of home you're looking at.
Yeah.
Because when it does change, or if it doesn't change, just always be ready so you don't miss it, no matter what.
Yeah, and a lot of people ask, like, what do I need to do? Or I'm not ready, so I'm not going to do anything for, 6 months or a year. It's like, well, it's probably not the right thing. You should probably at least research it if you're thinking about it, even in the next 2 to 5 years. At least know and be updated as it goes through, so then who knows, maybe it comes earlier than you think. Maybe something happens where it makes you want to wait longer, but you won't know those things unless you're actually in it and have a partner that's kind of keeping you up to date on what's going on.
Well, and exactly what you just said is it could be 3, 4, 5 years down the road, but it's our responsibility, to know our finances. And part of knowing our finances is knowing our credit score and knowing where we stand. So what if you go to try to buy, but then you ended up buying a car or something happened or a blip maybe we didn't even know about? And so our credit drops a little bit. And then you go to buy that and then it changes everything.
Yeah.
But if you were just constantly, like what you said, just check in every 6 months, making sure everything's rolling, and they do a soft credit pull and making sure things are going, you can really, that could be a hack that you just know your finances and you keep that high credit score. And so when it comes time to go.
I think that's smart in general, right?
Right.
You should probably be checking that on occasion anyway.
For sure.
But for this, it's even better because then you know where you're at, you know where you stand, and you're able to, you're able to move forward with different decisions, whether that's, like you mentioned, buying a car, whether that's investing, whatever that is. You're just more knowledgeable. And no one's ever going to make a worse decision because they have more knowledge.
Right.
Right. And so, that just doesn't happen. So the more true knowledge and facts you can have about the situation, then the more likely you are to make the right decision.
Right.
So, yeah. So it's good. I think right now a lot of people also are asking, they're just kind of looking at, okay, what can I afford? What can I do? Because I get asked this question a lot of how do, especially first-time home buyers, even get into a home right now because of the price, right? And it's kind of interesting. We've talked about this a little bit before, but I think it's a lot of those things as well. It's true. Home prices are high right now. Our average price point is in the 430s, right? And historically, that's definitely one of the highest it's ever been.
Right.
And so, and that's pretty high for Idaho. You go to the rest of the country, we're in that top probably 20%.
Right.
We're not the highest by any means. California, New York, there's a lot of higher, Utah, Colorado, Washington. There's a lot of states that are above us, but we are, I think on the last one I saw, we were ranked 11th in total as far as most expensive median income or median house price,
right,
which is pretty crazy when you think about it. Little Idaho, right, is 11th in median house price. And so we're definitely not on the cheaper end of that. So how do people afford it? Well, the nice thing is there's a lot of opportunity here. A lot of people have decent jobs here. I think if the benefit of meeting earlier, like you mentioned, is just knowing your finances and knowing what you can or should afford, right?
Right.
So how many times we run into people that they want to buy a bigger house, but they have $2,000 in car payments or things like that or more.
Right.
And it's like that's just killing them to where they can't get to what they want because of those things. I think sometimes if we just take a step back and know it beforehand, then we can make those decisions to help put us in the right spot so that we can be able to do the things that we really want to do and hit our goals.
Well, and car payments are so high now.
Yeah.
People are
just expected.
overspending on they're just high.
Yeah.
And so if you can cut one in half or if you can do different things, it changes affordability drastically.
Yeah.
And I like what you said too about if people are thinking about buying, again, be prepared because as these things are going on in cities and counties and things like that, they're enforcing more construction fees and impact fees and connection fees and all these fees that the contractor isn't going to take, developer isn't going to take, and they can't, or there's no cost in the build. It's not that they're greedy, it's that, and so they just pass it on to the consumer. And so then it just causes havoc. And I see those increasing. I see that there's always a new levy or a new, something that I just think it's smart to consider to buying now versus weighing what it's going to be later.
Yeah. Yeah, like you've said many times, it's like people get worried about their rent always going up and always going up. The last couple of years, we haven't seen a lot of that.
Right.
But it's going to come back, right? Like a lot of these buildings, especially in Southeast Idaho, right? They built so many of these apartments and things like that. And some people are pulling back a little bit on investing in them because there's so many right now.
Right.
And there will be a time when right now we're in that they're filling. And so the length of time it takes to fill those rental properties, that may be a little bit longer right now than it has been 4 years ago.
Right.
But once those are full, they haven't been approving them anywhere near at the pace that they did 4 or 5 years ago.
Right.
So those are getting done now, they're getting completed now, and they're starting to fill them, but they're not approving a bunch more right now or haven't been. And so once those are full, those rates most likely are going to start going back up. And so they will go back up. But buying is a way you can eliminate that worry. And so, you've got your fixed rate and you're good.
Right.
It might move slightly for taxes, but it's not going to be a ton like it would be if it were rent.
It's 100% accurate. And typically people, if you're a great renter, they don't really raise your rent as much as somebody who's moving in and out. And so if you plan on, renting and staying, there's a lot of people that are sitting and waiting to move out, And so, yeah, I agree with you that there's a lot of sitters on the sidelines,
Yeah.
and when they get done sitting and get off the pot, they're going to be buying some homes.
Well, I know I've ran into a couple of people just the last couple of months. One family, actually, they'd been renting this place for, I think, 15 years. And they thought, yeah, we thought about buying, but we were just comfortable here and just kept renting. And I was looking at the prices and I thought, man, if they bought that house then,
Right.
it would have been like $180,000.
Right.
Now it's like almost $6.
Right.
And I just thought, wow, that could have been money, or basically money in their pocket, right? I mean, that's part of their portfolio and part of their retirement and part of everything else. Whereas now they're still just renting, but they're paying way more now than they did then. And so,
well, and to that point, and then to the other point is let's say you're a great renter, and they don't raise the rent on you.
yeah,
And so you're like, I'm not going to buy because my rent's this.
yeah,
Well, your rent, it's not controllable. It's controlled by the landlord. If that tax comes in, that property tax, and it goes up, well, it's hard for that landlord to keep you in there when all they're doing is paying taxes with that.
yeah,
And utilities and insurance and anyway, there's a lot that goes into that. And so that's like the flip side of renting is it's going to go up. And you're going to be like, oh, this guy's awesome. It's been this way forever. Well, that's going to be a really bad day for you when it's not.
yeah, yeah. Or something always changes, right? I mean, the people that I mentioned, they were in the house and it changed because the person who they'd been renting from for years passed away. Right. And so it was to the family, and the family didn't want rentals, and so they sold everything. And so they were stuck in a position where they were forced out, right? And then they weren't really in a position because they hadn't been saving, they hadn't been doing the things. And so we're just looking for other rentals instead of being able to purchase or something at that point. And so I think just the plan, whatever that plan is, I mean, we're not here to tell people what their plan is, but whatever that plan, may have a plan, right? And have a goal and be prepared and say, okay, I'm here. Where am I going to be in 5 years? Where am I going to be in 10 years? And if you're renting, you don't really have that option because you don't know if they're going to decide to sell. And if they do sell, you may have somebody that wants to rent it to you still, but you may not.
For sure.
And so it just kind of depends. And so sometimes you don't have that option in those cases. So, yeah. So right now I think it's this whole summer, I think is going to be really strong when it comes to sales. And I think there's going to be two boats. There's going to be people that come out of this summer saying, oh man, that summer was horrible because I didn't sell my house. I had it up forever. Didn't sell it because they were overpriced.
Right.
And then there's the people that, we sold it really quickly and it went really fast.
And able to move on onto their next deal and
Yep.
transition, that goal pretty smoothly.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, so we'll see. We'll see how it all pans out. But right now, it looks like interest rates are kind of here to stay. Seems like we have seen fluctuation, but not the volatility that we've seen over the last 5-10 years.
Right.
It seems like when we get our little daily updates of where interest rates are, it's maybe the same or 0.05% or something like that change. It's just very, very small fluctuations instead of the large jumps that we were seeing a little while ago. So,
right.
And that's probably a good thing overall. Just because it's nice to have interest rates fairly steady versus all over the board.
And when it comes down to buying or selling real estate, you say interest rates, and I love that because, the government, that whole thing, and they're more in control of the interest rates, right, of what's going on. And what we know as a whole is real estate has always been something just like the stock market that's always increased. Mm-hmm. So people always give us, we're the bad real estate agents, that always say buy now. Yeah. But that's why, is because it's increasing. Like when you look at the snapshot, did it increase a lot 18 months? Maybe not. Did it increase a lot 24 months? No, but 5? Yeah.
Absolutely.
10? Yeah. 15? Oh my gosh. I should have bought.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so, Yeah, it's good. I think this year will end up, I think, really strong. Seems like the last few years we've done fairly well, but this year I think is going to be kind of a little bit of a breakout year as far as number of sales. That's what we're trending towards anyway. And so we'll see how it ends up. But yeah, so affordability is always on people's minds. Inventory levels are always, they're not on people's minds, but it controls and affects everything, right? That's what controls the prices more than anything is inventory levels. And so with that huge influx of listings, luckily we've been kind of keeping up with buyers. And so home prices haven't dropped more. But if those buyers drop off at all, then those prices may drop again. But right now it's looking like we're going in the opposite direction. So that's a good thing. So, what else? There was something else that we wanted to talk about today as far as not just buying or selling right now, or is now a good time, but overall market.
I would even say investing.
Yeah.
I'd say get prepared to invest. There is deals out there. There's people wholesaling homes like crazy.
True.
Just because the top 90% of people can't find a deal or something to work, there's 10% that's making it work. And so I feel like sometimes just like in anything, when it's not going your way, you got to dig a little more and research a little more and find that one thing. But there is a lot of good things, going on. And as prices sometimes maybe get stagnant or people are hoping that it was going to go too high, sometimes there's ways that you can get in there and get it a lot lower, or you can find something a lot lower.
Sometimes that's opportunity. I think
for sure.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you just need to be looking for it, right? Those deals in some markets, those deals fall in your lap. Whereas right now they're there, you just have to be searching for them and looking for them a little bit more.
Right.
Yeah.
And it may not be just Idaho Falls. There might be other towns that you may need to get savvy in and talk to our team, but talk to the real estate agent and say, hey, what other towns could I find something in this price range?
Yeah.
And rent it for?
That's true.
So there's different markets in different towns, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah. So don't be myopic in that. Open your mind a little bit to see new opportunities and things like that.
Yep.
I know for a long time the subject to loans were really popular, and they still are. I think they're a little bit oversaturated right now. I get texts daily asking for, hey, do you have any homes that we can do this on? I think a lot of people are looking for them now. But those can be options. And in some cases, that can be a really good opportunity for the person selling and for the person buying. It can get the person selling a little bit more than they would have gotten in this market.
Right.
And it can be good for the person buying because they don't have to go through traditional financing.
And I think just networking. Yeah. Talking to somebody, hey, what's going on? What are you seeing in your market? Yeah. What are people investing into? What about subject to? What do you think about those? What do you think about foreclosures? We're getting a lot of questions now on foreclosures.
Yeah.
And I think the expectations that things are foreclosing left and right is a little high. It's a little not happening is what I'm saying. Like you here and there, as always. But
I thought we were going to see a lot of people were predicting that short sales and foreclosures were going to come back pretty strong this year. We haven't really seen it.
Not yet.
There's some, which we didn't see any for a few years. So there's very few, but it's by no means taking over the market.
Right.
Like it did in 2012, 2013. So,
right.
So I think right now this is, those, they could come up, and you want to be open to those situations if they do, but we're just not seeing it overwhelmingly like we did before.
Right.
So, and who knows, it still could happen, but right now we're not seeing it. I think a lot of people are staying in their homes a lot longer though.
Right.
I think people are staying there because they do have a 2.5 interest rate or a 3 interest rate or something like that. And so they want to stay, and they're not only looking at, they may stay in that smaller home instead of upgrading now, because before upgrading wasn't that big of a jump. If you were in a 5 or 6 interest rate and you're getting a more expensive home, but now interest rates are 2.5, 3,
right.
It's a pretty easy jump because your monthly payment isn't going to change that much. But right now it's changing a lot, especially if you're one of those that are in that low interest rate and you're going to a more expensive house, then that jump is doubled, right? And so some people are staying a little bit longer than they normally would have.
And I would also add that availability. So like for my family and I, we were looking to move or build, but there wasn't a lot on the market.
Yeah.
So, but now, like what you're saying, there's a lot more coming on the market, right? Sales are rising. There's that synergy going on. I think we're going to see more and more and more of people, jumping houses or upgrading or, just changing their lifestyle or whatever it may be. And I think we're going to see that too, because just as soon as you get some more options, it changes.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and it's always that threshold, right? Whatever that threshold is for that family. I mean, at what point does a 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom house work for a family of 6 or something like that, right?
Well, and a lot of growth in families have happened, right?
Yeah. And so I think there's a threshold of like, okay, I know it's a big jump, but we've got to make it because this is where our family's at.
Yeah.
But I think in past, I think more and more people are looking at maybe holding on to their prior home and renting it out versus selling it if they can, because they do have such a low interest rate and they can cash flow that property pretty easily. So that's another option that may be opening up right now to people that didn't have that option before.
Love it.
So awesome. Well, yeah. So right now, I think definitely reach out to us if you have any questions about the market here. We are pretty good on keeping up to date with the stats, and we go over those. I'm kind of a nerd. I like to go through those pretty regularly and make sure to see where we're at, to see what the numbers are saying, because the numbers don't lie. And so, reach out and let us know if you have any questions on those for sure.
And any questions at all. You don't have to call just because you want to list or buy. Like if you have a question of should I remodel a kitchen versus a bathroom, or what value, or what value would this add, or
or need a good contractor for that.
We'd love to talk shop on everything. If you're curious about how much your neighbor's house is selling for, we'd love to gossip a little bit about what homes are listed for. So
awesome.
We love it. But thank you again for all your support and your referrals and just supporting our team. And if you like this information, let us know and we'll get you some more. And if you like our podcast, definitely subscribe because it definitely helps us a bunch. And we want to keep you up to date, and we want to be the nose that you know. So thank you so much.